I greet my viewers with another liberal message from such an outstanding politologist like me, Jan. Actually, my usual outset of my blogging, political blogging, since as a democratic lobbyist I have to support healthcare plan, universal healthcare plan, which actually has recently passed House of Representatives with flying colors. 243 Democrats and Republicans, and 243 U.S. House Representatives voted for passing healthcare legislation, H.R. 2473, and 54 Republicans actually joined, along with Democrats, cross the ranks of Republican and voted for healthcare legislation, including public plans, so-called exchange, which will be run by the government, by the U.S. government. But I believe that Republicans, most of the Republicans, of course, are very reactionary, neo-fascist, and they oppose healthcare plan, including John McCain, former killer pilot who murdered innocent people in Vietnamese hospitals by bombarding, and served 5 years in jail for committing war crimes. There was one bright example of it, Republican neo-fascism, is that House Representative, U.S. House Representative Steve King, actually, this guy actually openly opposed even providing any health care for immigrants, including legal immigrants. He said that during debate that he wouldn't give no health care to illegal immigrants. He believes that health care should be denied to illegal immigrants at the expense of U.S. government, and health care should be denied to legal immigrants. This is in neo-fashion, because Republicans oppose human rights, because Republicans are mercenaries of like an imperialism. They're mercenaries of narco-mafia, American Republicans, and actually it's thank God and goodwill of American people that the majority of U.S. Congress and U.S. President is controlled by Democrats. Actually, I believe that Barack Obama is a progressive Democrat in terms of carrying out universal health care coverage, which will uphold human right to receive health care in spite of a financial situation of 100% of American population. It actually will restore dignity and prosperity to the American system. I believe that implementation of healthcare legislation will bring down terrorism in the United States, which came from Florida, and from Florida Flight School, and despaired and persecuted Arab immigrants who actually were probably denied job opportunities and who committed terrible acts of aerial bombardments during our bombardments and destroyed WTC Tower and attacked Pentagon, U.S. Department of Defense building in Washington, D.C. And I believe that actually prevalence of mental illnesses is seriously contributes to right-wing extremism and terrorism, like Columbine High School shootings of innocent students, which been done by Clifford and Harvey's, mentally ill psychopaths, homophobes who hated their schoolmates because their mental diseases went untreated, and nobody cared about treating those teenagers. The council didn't care about treating those mentally ill teenagers, because the council didn't discern such a disease like homophobia and psychopathy. Didn't believe that homophobia might kill people, actually, because homophobia causes people to become violent terrorists. Homophobia destroys their brains. Homophobia is responsible for causing disruption in neuronic currents of the brain, which causes actually violent aggression and pathological hatred. Homophobia is pathological hatred which causes violent aggression. I believe that treating mental illnesses and at the expense of U.S. government will help to eliminate violent crime and terrorism in the United States. And I believe it's important for me that Democratic U.S. Senate and the Republican senators alike will vote for passing healthcare legislation. If they don't, we'll lose their seats and their freedom and their honor. And I believe that people will punish them severely by removing them from their seats if they don't pass this healthcare legislation by September. And I believe that U.S. Senate Democrats have about 60 votes to pass healthcare legislation, universal healthcare legislation, according to John Keane, CNN anchor. But actually, luckily that John Keane, after all, and the Republican senator from Arizona, John McCain, finally decided to, through a vote, indirectly supported healthcare legislation by quoting necessary 60 votes of Democratic majority and some other Republicans which are likely to cross lines to vote for healthcare legislation. And I believe that Democrats win 18 ballots cast against healthcare legislation is 3 times less than Republicans win of 54. U.S. House Representative who voted for this legislation, healthcare HR 2473 legislation, was actually passed with flying colors. 60% of U.S. House Representatives voted for this legislation, including 54 moderate Republicans who sided with the Democratic provided healthcare. Democratic provided universal healthcare is not a government takeover. Private healthcare plans will still remain, and if we want to stay in business, they need to be viable. They need to have low monthly installments. They need to be responsible and honestly fix talking about we need to fix the health of those physically and mentally ill people. Shouldn't change them, the quality and amount and quantity of healthcare, because most healthcare institutions, like private insurances, they need to be honest, and government should enforce those policies on those private health providers. Otherwise, we will lose those clients. People will dump healthcare coverage if we find out that healthcare company don't pay nothing, to ill patients, and dump ill clients, like insurance frauds, like we are, like ignominious frauds. We actually will lose all our patients and lose their business anyway. So I believe that 43 million Americans live below poverty lines and they are unable to pay for their healthcare coverage. I'm one of those 43 million Americans. I'm unable even to recement my crown, my front incision crown, my teeth. I cannot fix my teeth. We can get a dental work done. It's because I don't have even money to buy those with healthcare. And healthcare plans don't pay for recementing crowns. They don't pay for serious dental work. It's because those companies don't want to incur any expenses, and government doesn't care, because if government enforced laws would be on the side of poor working class Americans instead of on the side of rich people, government would be official would be better off, would be much more prosperous as a result. So still I believe that healthcare legislation provided by Democratic Party, you cannot deny that Democratic Party are very progressive about it nowadays, and is capable of providing same-sex marriage. I believe that same-sex marriage bill, amnesty for illegal aliens, amnesty for ex-felons to own and possess firearms after 5 years of law-abiding life, and I believe that raising minimum wage to $10 an hour, to cope with galloping inflation, all those measures will help make life of Americans better, and I believe there is no viable alternative to progressive politics. Reactionary politics will make things worse, and if it were viable maybe for some part of Americans before, and nowadays it won't give me nothing, even moral or materials.